vision.
Do you remember last week we discussed Takahashi in Vietnam,
Right.
especially Japanese people, very conservative.
Right.
Compromise their
Right.
technology.
Yes.
And before negotiation, they are very sticking to their own
ideas.
service.
Yeah. Right.
So we need to open their mind.
Right. But so in order to do that, also we need to first look at the reasons why. Because I don't think Japanese people are selfish by nature. They become selfish because it's very difficult to actually negotiate internally and externally. Especially, I believe that one of the major problems is that.
Do you remember bridge I explained? Australian company built bridge construction in Vietnam, but Japanese they will not. They don't want to. They
don't want to provide lower quality than their own standards.
Or one company can provide lower technology, but his industry colleague,
compatriots,
against his company attitude.
Right. So they don't want to provide.
This is the problem.
Right. So basically, okay. Well, we can skip this. So we talked about negotiation. Negotiation is about vision, finding out actually what are the interests of the other side.
So we are talking about just only European side negotiation skill, but Japanese people cannot understand what it means.
Right.
Because we have lots of obstacles to conquer.
To conquer. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but for the Japanese viewers, just basically to give a very 2-minute introduction into what European negotiate, what's on their mind, what they are considering, is when they are negotiating, they are looking at that's kind of famous, the win-win negotiation. Win-win negotiation is actually discovering not only what are the other side's positions regarding price, terms, like financial terms, delivery terms, quality standards, etc. Those are positions. But what is very interesting for a European negotiator is to actually look beyond those terms and see where do they come from, these terms? Why do people insist on certain quality measures? What is the reason behind this demand? Is that based on a corporate interest? Is that based on a personal interest? So we are looking beyond, we're trying to look beyond the position and try to discover what drives people to actually choose a position or to hold a position. Is it just a tactic, or is there a fundamental reason why they need certain conditions met in a negotiation? The reason behind that is that when basically we start to negotiate on the value quadrant, then we are trying to exchange things that are very important to the other side and of little importance to us, in exchange for something that is a very high value to us and that is low value to the other side. By doing that, we're trying to create a win-win outcome. That means that if I give something away that is of very low value to me in exchange for something that is of a very high value to the other side, basically I can make a swap, a change. So during the negotiations, you're exchanging these different elements of a negotiation, you're creating more value for both sides. So that is win-win negotiation. You do that by designing a team, by creating an environment, by basically keeping track of where you are in negotiation, creating a strategy in order to first create value, and later on in the process, once you have successfully created value for both sides, you try to make sure that you get your share, or preferably a little bit more of your share, from the table, and that's how you create a successful negotiation. So inexperienced negotiators, they will look at positions. They will look at what's on the table as a zero-sum game. That means that the more I can get off the table, the more I will not give to you, the more remains for me. But the art of the game, the art of the negotiation game, is to actually create an outcome that is superior for both sides. right? So that is negotiation, but that is a matter of psychology. That's a matter of give and take. That's a matter of looking beyond positions, trying to understand what drives people, and creating an environment and creating a process which is conducive, which helps you to create a win-win outcome. That requires also, for example, the ability of a negotiator to basically show that he's prepared to give and take, so that he has the ability and the willingness to make a deal with the other side. That's how you create trust between both sides. So if you want to negotiate with a Western negotiator, and not only a Western negotiator, I believe that this goes beyond Europe, this strategy. Okay, it has different flavors depending on where you are in the world, but the European negotiation style is very close to the American negotiation style, is very close to, I believe, most parts of Southeast Asia. But a little bit different, for example, for Middle East. Middle East is more about win-lose negotiation, and maybe not even so, but because this is the culture in the Middle East, both sides will negotiate in this way. So it's expected. If you're not firm with a Middle Eastern negotiator, you will not make a deal, or you will lose, basically. So you need to adjust your strategy, your tactics, in order to be successful. But I believe that what Uno-san was saying in the beginning, that for Japanese people to negotiate is difficult. There seems to be a disconnect. They are not interested in negotiation. It's hard. So the first question is, okay, why is it so hard to negotiate? Of course, obviously there are technical barriers, like language. Language is a very important weapon in a negotiation, because in order to be persuasive, in order to be able to pick up on what drives the other side, you need to be able to listen, and then on top of that you have the cultural aspect. So if somebody says A, what does that really mean from within his or her cultural background? It's much more difficult to read from a foreigner than from a Westerner. And then we need to look at it in, okay, what is normal in a certain culture? In Japanese culture, it's normal that the supplier basically follows the customer, and they create a trust relationship. Whereas with an American negotiation, the business culture is that basically in the law we trust. That's most important. That means that we need a very clear contractual agreement. Otherwise, there is no deal. So there are language barriers, cultural barriers, business barriers that will prevent us to easily engage with foreigners. But without the willingness to learn this kind of negotiation, it goes both ways. Because Western negotiators are just as uncomfortable in negotiation with the Japanese side as vice versa. So there is a big disconnect between both sides. The only way that we can overcome this is by first creating awareness of this difference, and then by showing the value. Okay, so what would it mean for you as a Japanese company if you're capable of actually getting across this chasm, basically across the river that separates both business worlds.
By the way, Takashi's case, he himself involved in local people to negotiate,
Right.
make proposal, contract, so forth. But usually, Japanese company, if they're going to start to negotiate with overseas company, like Thursday, I met with German, consulting company. He told me he's doing the intermediate between Japanese and German company. and he knows German company, in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So he can negotiate with Japanese company in the middle of the negotiation. I think this is a very important role. Last
Right.
Saturday, Monday, I told you. And in Asia Pacific, maybe Takahashi type of person can work here in Asia Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
But with Westerners company, almost impossible to negotiate with British, France, Italy, or German company. So
But you think it's easier for Westerners to negotiate with Japanese than vice versa?
No, both way.
Mm.
And what I'm talking last Monday is, okay, Westerners, if you're going to do business with Westerners, we need to looking for some consulting company, like for German consultant in the middle of us. So this is last Monday I recommend you. And actually last Thursday I met with German consultant, what he's doing. I agree with his opinion. But in Asia Pacific, maybe Japanese can handle it. Right. So, my second question for you is, you're talking about European negotiation. Two cases. One is, if you're going to do business with European, it's completely different. We need to submit, okay, we need to cooperate with German, British, French consultants to get together. Okay, they know what is the German people's characteristics or natures and what kind of negotiation we are capable. But Asian Pacific is Japanese can handle it. Just we can directly negotiate with Asian companies because culture is some similarity we have, and we know the Asian countries very well, so we can do something for them to negotiate, right? But okay, my question is, for Asia Pacific, we are doing businesses cases. This is different from Europe. Just you make a presentation. Asian Pacific negotiations is not like that. So Takashi knows well. So we just last time he spoke some opinion, but very hard to listen because of the just Skype. For today we can do something for more closer negotiation content. What we're going to focus on. But European cases are the other issues. If we're going to actually maybe I need to talk with consultant to listen. Okay, we're going to target company and consulting company involved, German consulting involved, and then what kind of role we're going to doing each other.
Mm-hmm.
This is the issue. So this is different. American company is also American case is Japanese can involve instead of without consulting company. American company. This reason is American is non-conceal or just open mind.
But
Always they are going to talk, but some cases they need backdoor negotiation. But in my experience, very clear how to talk with them.
But you also need very good legal counsel when you're negotiating with Americans. You also need to kind of understand how to pace a negotiation.
Oh, this is beside the condition. This is lawyers' involvement. This is recently Japanese company very well known that.
But also, besides that, for example, Americans are always in a hurry, right? So they will put the time pressure on you. If you're thinking to drag out a negotiation for a couple of months, they will not bother.
Always
they don't want to do business with you.
Same problem.
Right.
So, but my concern is, I think three types: European people negotiation, and we need to intermediary person will required. American is also different negotiation like Asian Pacific, but we have Japanese can do that because of they have a lot of experience with American counterpart negotiation in the past. Lawyers and any other, especially in the document, and familiar with that.
But why would you do it? I mean, if you...
No, wait a minute. Third one is Asia Pacific. So three type of negotiation type we have, not one. This is Europe mainly focus on European people negotiation, but this is one example. But we little bit more consider for three type of negotiation we need. Most simple one is Asian people, how to doing business with Asian people. Negotiation itself is doing business with Asian people, right?
How is Asian negotiation different from the European way of negotiating?
Big difference is Asian people, they don't think about four dimensions.
What is on their mind?
Major concern is trust relationship.
Hmm.
This is the first.
So, but that is closer to Japanese way of negotiating.
Oh, yes. The Chinese Confucianism background they have.
Hmm.
So they don't consider value and vision and process and relationship. They are just trust relationship.
How do they arrange? What is the typical legal approach for a Asian?
Legal approach is more lighter than America, lighter than Europe.
Okay. And how are their strategies? Do they think, are they mostly win-win oriented or win-lose oriented?
No, win. Of course, win. Yeah.
Okay.
So at this aspect, I think what kind of element we need to be considered. This is much more interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And second is America. But first is I think Asia Pacific. I want to discuss with you for this kind of who is your customer. Okay, this is your customer is Singapore customer, Vietnam customer. That in this case, what kind of negotiation you need to be considered.
So first of all, if we are going to negotiate with an Asian counterpart, who's at the table? Is the decision maker at the table?
Yeah,
or not?
based upon usually decision maker on the table. Okay.
Okay.
And Japanese Japanese people also decision makers in the table.
Really?
Yes, recently.
Okay.
Okay, but problem is Japanese is slow moving versus Vietnamese. Vietnamese top people come at the first, but Japanese is not coming on the table at first,
I see.
and a little bit more delayed at later part. So this kind of recommendation we need to be considered.
Question: why do Japanese decision makers come so late to the game?
Oh, because they do not recognize this is so important at the front.
Okay.
And Asian Pacific people is Chinese origin or Chinese affected people, they understand what is the strategy. Japanese people, they do not know strategy, more tactics.
How is this? Is this the same or different from a Japanese to Japanese negotiation?
Different. Completely different. But if you're going to compare with European people, a big similarity among Asian Pacific people.
Oh.
European people completely, we have big gap, okay? But among Asian Pacific people and any country in Asia Pacific, Chinese and Vietnamese, whatever, more Japanese is very easier to communicate with them.
Can I take one step back?
Oh, but sorry, Chinese and among the rest of
Yeah,
Asian
Chinese
Pacific
is different, sure. I thought so.
But overseas Chinese is very similar.
Another question. So, what you said is like the decision makers in a Japanese company to Japanese company negotiation, the decision makers are already at the table in early stage, or not?
I don't know. This is depending on what kind of negotiation you're going to make. Right?
So if you would say equal
Japanese is very easy, or not difficulty. They don't have any difficulty to communicate or negotiate each other.
Well, yeah. So that's another element I think in decision making in negotiating. I believe that. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but the negotiation style within Japan is kind of unique in the world, in a sense that in a negotiation, basically what both sides will do is they will look for common ground throughout the entire process, and not with differences, the differences, but try to look for common ground, and create consensus among both sides, and then proceed.
Very efficient.
So if you're negotiating with an outside party, I think from everywhere in the world, okay, in the beginning they will look at, okay, what do we have in common? But then they will focus on what separates us and how can we bridge it, and that is actually focusing on their opposite interests. For example, price is always an opposite interest, because the buyer wants to pay as little as possible, and the seller wants to get as much as possible. So then is when you are trying to kind of persuade the other side, but that's a process of of disharmony, basically of actually amplifying the differences and trying to create consensus by actually debate, negotiation, not looking for common ground. That's when it becomes a little bit uncomfortable.